This is a very controversial topic. It might end up getting dark as I'm speaking, so if I fade away into the darkness, don't mind me. You'll still hear my voice. Follow my voice, you'll find the light. But nah, all jokes aside, because this is a serious conversation. You want to know why? I can't say why everyone, but most people, including, right, me with my good traits and bad traits, right? A lot of times you can chop it down to parenting. The reason why this is going to be a controversial topic is because it's a heavy conversation, okay? So anxiety, depression, anger, some things are DNA, but that still falls into the category of what I'm trying to say here. And what I'm trying to say is the problem with the human race, the reason why the world is fucked up, is parenting. I think the key to it all is parenting. I think that if we can master parenting, we can change the world. The problem is, there is no rule book to parenting, and the problem is, so many people don't want to hear how to parent. Like, if I try to give someone parenting advice, they'll be like, oh, that's my kid, it's not yours. You can raise your kid the way you want to raise your kid. I'll raise my kid the way I want to raise mine. And it's like, then you're like, okay, like, whatever. Parenting is such a hard topic to talk about because people don't want to hear it. But whether you want to hear it or not, this is my opinion. And if you don't want to hear it, shut the video off. But, like, my opinion is, I think the problem is the way we're raising our children. I think we need to raise our children differently, obviously, right? Because obviously the way it's going isn't working, right? It's not just the way we raise our children, it's the whole society, it's our life, it's everything is fucking us up. The Western world has fucked us up so bad, making us work jobs that we hate to support our family, but we're not spending actual physical time with our family, right? We're paying for things for them. Money cannot, like, buy love, I guess is what I'm trying to say, right? So, because money can't buy love, it's like working a job isn't going to make your child feel loved. If you ask your child, do you want me to stay home or go to work? The child is going to tell you they want you to stay home. Why? Obviously because they want to spend time with you. Obviously because they want to be around you. Obviously because you know, parents are like gods to their children, right? It's like our children look up to us, right? I think the problem is cycles repeat. The problem is parenting cycles. The problem is, like, there's just so many problems, right? Main thing is parenting. The reason my father is I want to call him a shitty father because I'm kind of mad at him, right? But it's like, realistically, no, I can say that. Realistically, he's a shitty fucking father. Really shitty father. Good person, I think. But a horrible fucking father. The man should have never had a child. Like, he was not born to raise children. He has no father-like anything in his body whatsoever, right? The problem is the way that he was raised. The way that he was raised, my grandfather raised, obviously, my father. But my grandfather kind of didn't really... him and my father had it rough growing up. My grandfather was an alcoholic at the time. You know, he would beat my grandmother, cheat on my grandmother. He probably beat my dad. He probably, you know, he was probably just an asshole, right? One of those shitty-ass asshole fathers. Now, when I was born, that changed because the grandfather I know, he was a great man, right? He kind of took the place that my father missed out on. My father, and what's sad is my father just didn't know how to do it because his dad never taught him, because his dad didn't learn until I was in the picture, and then he was able to do it basically a second time and kind of teach me the ropes and teach me life and, you know, play with me and have, you know, we would have fun, we would laugh, you know, I'd get up with him early in the morning. I don't know, he'd lecture me, he'd philosophize with me, tell me about life, like what I imagine a dad is supposed to do. And I also imagine he didn't do that with my father. And because he didn't do that with my father, my dad didn't do it with me, and the cycle could have continued. But luckily I had my grandfather to teach me, and luckily, like, it's like my dad didn't feel loved from his parents. Like, he felt loved from his mother, but he never really felt loved from his father. And because of that, I feel like that's why he turned out to be a horrible father. That's why, like, he told my mom all the time, like, oh, you know, he should come stay with me because you know, because I'd treat, you know, I'd be able, he had money, whatever. Like, the times that he had money in his life, that's what he wanted me. But if he didn't have money, he didn't want me, right? And he's kind of the type that thinks that when you have money, that solves the problem. He doesn't see that my mother was the best parent on the planet. I have friends that tell me all the time they wish they had a mom like I have. Like, all my friends say that. And I never really got why until I started paying attention to the fact that most people don't have that immense love. My mom was like my biggest cheerleader. She was my best friend. I could talk to her about anything. She wasn't just my mom, she was my best friend, and she still is, right? I can still talk to my mom about anything. Anything and everything. She taught me, like, she just talked to me about everything to the point where it's like, I knew what sex was, I knew what this was, I knew that and this and that, and it's just, she loved me so much. She just wanted to, like, she couldn't, sometimes maybe she couldn't give me what I wanted because we didn't have enough money, right? She got one disability check a month, right? So it's like, sometimes she couldn't give me a bunch of things, so all she would give me is her love. And we are fucking stupid because we forget that that's all we fucking need. We do not need anything. I don't care if your kid walks in the store and sees, the only reason your kid wants those fucking toys is because he sees those other kids playing with the same toys, right? Your kid, I don't care what your kid says, your kid don't know anything besides, like, what you say to it, right? It learns the words you teach it, right? So it's like, what your child knows without your help is love. Every child knows love because they can feel it without you needing to explain it. Why does a child say I love you so many times? Have you ever had to explain to your child what love meant? No, not once. Have you ever had to sit down and explain to your child what love meant because they could feel it when you said it? And when they say it, they can feel it too. It's a feeling. I think the problem is we lack love in our society. The way we raise our children lacks love. The main thing we're focused on is having money to pay the bills, to put food on the table for our children. All we're worried about is having a roof over our head for our children. All we're worried about are physical, materialized parenting. We're not actually worried about genuine, emotional, connective parenting. Like, when you have such a deep connection with your child that they will talk to you about anything and everything, right? Anything and everything. My daughter, like, comes to me about everything. I'm not going to be the type of father that's like, you know, no boys, you got to be locked in the house, and no, right? I'm going to be I'm the type of father where she can come to me about anything and everything. She's talked to me about boys. She's only 8 years old, but, like, she's asked me, like, when can she have a boyfriend? Like, things like this, right? That most parents would be like, oh, you'll never. And it's like, I just generally want to listen to what she thinks. What does she want out of life? Like, all of her dreams, all of her hopes. I listen to everything she says. I'm that ear for her that listens to every word she says. I listen to all of her hopes, all of her dreams. I encourage her. I help her with her dreams. I'm not going to push any dream on her. I am going to use my knowledge and abilities to help her with her dreams, help her with what she wants to do with her life, right? I'm helping her learn how to make TikTok because she wants to do TikTok, and I told her she can't do it until she shows me that she's trying to learn it on her own without my help, right? And she's doing that. But this is what I feel like a father's job is. A father's job is to philosophize with the child. A father's job is to help in every aspect he can. We've been told that a father's job is to go make money and have the children sit with the kids. And even though things are changing and we want everyone to be equal nowadays, even though that's happening, for some reason we still have this stereotype with, if a man doesn't have a job, he's not really a father, or a real man puts food on the table and all this other bullshit, right? A real man is this or a real man is that, right? Just like there's a real woman does this or a real woman does that. Just because a woman works the job, that doesn't make her any less than a woman, and just because a man is a stay-at-home father, that doesn't make him any less than of a man. I think we need to re-evaluate childhood and parenting, because I don't understand why it's the conversation no one wants to speak about, but it's the most important conversation we need to speak about. We need to speak about how do you discipline your children? How do you I don't know, if your daughter is coming to you about boys, what age do you want them to start dating? What answer do you give them, right? I told my daughter the truth. I said 13 years old is not necessarily too young for a boyfriend. It's just, I explained to her the consequences of having a boyfriend, because so many people only see the positives, right? The consequences of having a boyfriend is she has so many dreams right now. She wants to do YouTube, TikTok. She wants to sell slime and sell colored sand. She wants to do all this other stuff, right? And I was explaining to her, when you have a boyfriend, you're distracted from that stuff. They can distract you from what you're actually trying to do with your life. So, like, I guess I'm just completely honest, just like my mom was with me. And that's where I'm getting at with this whole video, is that we are all doing that. We're all doing that. Whether you know it or not, you probably act just like your parents, and whether you know it or not, you probably raise your child the same way they raised you. Unless you stop and look at it and say, okay, how am I raising them? How do I talk to them? Analyze, how did your parents talk to you? And if you talk to your kids the same way, is that a good thing or a bad thing? For me, it's a good thing, right? For me, the way my mom talked to me, I talk just like this. The way I'm talking to you guys is the same way that I talk to my daughter. I don't talk to her like a little kid, or I've always talked to her using English. And I always tell her, if you don't understand the words that I'm saying, ask me what they mean, right? And because I'm not going to censor my words or whatever, or make them more kid-like for her to understand better, I always tell her, if you don't understand, you ask questions, you say, what does that mean? And I'll tell you. And I just think that I didn't have that as a father. I didn't have that in my life, besides my grandfather in and out. Like, my grandfather, I went to see my grandparents every other weekend. So, like, as much work as he could do in those every other weekends is what he did for me, right? But, like, realistically, a lot of the way I am with my daughter is because I wish I had a father like that. I wish my father held me while I cried and told him my problems, like I do with my daughter. I wish that my father helped me with my dreams, right? My dad has, I guess, helped me with my dreams in a way. When I was a kid, he helped me record my first 3 songs. He gave me Fruity Loops, the program. He didn't know how to use it, but like, he gave it to me, and I've learned how to use it like since then. I guess what I'm saying here is just, I learned a lot from observing, not from really him teaching. Like, I observed that he's been in the music industry since I could remember, right? I've observed that since I can remember, he was performing in a band. He was a drummer in a band. He'd be playing at gigs, and he'd take me to his gigs sometimes. And he was always doing music. He was, he started an online radio station. Back when there was only like 100 people in the world that had an online radio station. Like, he's been doing those things, and that's why I say he's a good man in that aspect, just a horrible father. Because I think with me, I would give all that up just to be a stay-at-home dad. That's the difference. Like, this is why, if you don't have kids, reevaluate it. Because having kids is deeper than just you having kids and feeding them. It changes your whole life, your goals, what you want out of life. Because as much as I'm chasing my dreams to be an entrepreneur, to do these YouTube videos, to do public speaking, to, have seminars, like, do all these things, right, that I'm trying to do, write my book, do all this shit, it takes away time from my daughter and time that I cannot get back. And sometimes I think to myself, sometimes I would prefer to just be a stay-at-home dad, to sit at home with my daughter and watch her grow, right? But it's like, I feel like the universe has a different purpose for me. So I'm walking towards my purpose, right? What feels right. And I'm trying to balance the two, because I'm a father first, and everything else second. That's what it became once I had my daughter. And I think that so many people, when they have a kid, they don't change. They stay the same. So if you had past trauma, you're bringing that into your parenting. That's why if you have kids and you are still sad about what happened to you in your childhood, that's a problem, right? If your childhood is still affecting you now, it will also affect your kids. So deal with your childhood trauma before you have children. These are things that I feel like would help us raise our children better, would help us have better connections, more love, and help us actually change the world. People always say they want to change the world. You really want to change the world, raise your children better. Because our children are the people that will be in this world, right? Our children are the people that are gonna, this is their world that we're building for them, right? This is the world that our ancestors built for us. And I think that if we just learn to raise our children with more compassion, more love, more attention, because a lot of kids act out because they're not getting attention, right? And it's like all of this, if we do this, our children will be happier people. Depression, anxiety, all these things. And yes, the topic of suicide is rough, but it's not necessarily the parent's fault if the child commits suicide. But at the same time, there's habits that child had that made them get up to suicide. Where they picked those habits up, it might not be from the parent, it might have been from their childhood in general, but it was from the childhood. So if their parenting was a little different, maybe they would have had a different outcome. So that doesn't mean you blame the parents for people who commit suicide. That just means we're having a genuinely real conversation about a real fucking problem, which the real problem is it's complicated, so it's going to have a complicated solution. And the complicated solution is that we raise our children with more love, with more compassion, with more empathy. We give them more attention. We put our fucking phones down and we look them in the eyes and tell them we love them. We hug them. And we analyze, are the traits that we have good for our children, or are they bad? Is the person I am a good role model for my child, or do I need to change? Because you want to know why I changed? I used to be a wannabe thug. I used to want to be a gangster. I used to want to sell drugs. I used to, want to hang out with hard people and rob people. But want to know what really made me change? Seeing my daughter being born. My first child being born, holding her in my arms. It just made me think, what type of father do I want her to have in her life? And I was thinking to myself, not the man I am right now. So that's why I have changed and I've worked on becoming a better man, because that's what she needs in her life. And if more people did that when they had children, I'm not saying I'm perfect, because I fuck up, right? One of my children, got taken from me. Another one I gave her for adoption. I'm fucked too, right? Everyone makes fucking mistakes. Everyone fucks up. We're all fucking human. All we can do is look at our mistakes and get better. All we can do is look at our parents' mistakes and do better. All we can do is break the cycle. We need to begin to break the cycle, because if we can break the cycle, we break the cycle that this world is stuck in.